I am still waiting to find a really good Sonic game in my backlog. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is split into 2 episodes. One is really, really bad, and the other is not horrible. Welcome to completions number 89 and 90 of the Potato Backlog Project. If you have over 100 games in your backlog, start completing them now, or you will never finish them. Trust me. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video for the only rating that matters in 2024, the Tater Raider, and let's talk a bit about Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Released in 2010 as the sequel to Sonic and Knuckles, I guess? I read that in the Wikipedia. The game is called Sonic the Hedgehog 4, but nothing here made me feel like it was the continuation of a larger story, or an improvement on any of the gameplay from the previous mainline 2D entries. Sonic 4 was originally conceived as a 3-episode trilogy, but episode 3 never got made. So let's talk a little bit about episode 1, which totally sucked, and then we'll touch a bit on episode 2, which was much better overall, but still nothing to write home about in the grand scheme of things. Episode 1 development started out as a smartphone exclusive spin-off title before shifting to a multi-platform mainline release. I couldn't find any reasoning as to why. Maybe they thought they had something special here. Maybe it was a marketing thing. Either way, I think they forgot they decided to make a sequel and ended up with a game that feels like a rebooted Sonic 1 with less creativity. The level design is super uninspired. Outside of one level, there's a labyrinth level in Zone 2 I really enjoyed. Sonic has a torch in this level that you use to light your way. You also use it to light wall torches in the level, which opens up other doors and serves up some small puzzle situations as well. They also put in some dynamite fuses to light, and they end the level with you riding in a minecart, so it was a pretty fun level. Besides that though, prepare to be bored. Water levels in this game, like every Sonic game, are zero fun. Sonic and water levels, man. I will never understand why they put these in. I need to do a deep dive and find out if Super Sonic fans like the water levels or not, because I've found them to be horrible in every Sonic game that I've ever played. The bosses are under average experiences throughout both episodes. Nothing to really note here. Visually cool at times, but fighting them wasn't very memorable. Unlockable special stages are present here. I think the way that you get them is either collecting a certain amount of coins in each level or finishing levels under a certain amount of time. It seems that this is the only place to collect Chaos Emeralds as well, but you basically just rotate the level around a stationary Sonic, having him collect coins, which I think they've done a few times before in older games, and the reason for the design was the technological limitations of the time. You're trying to do something different, but you just don't have a ton of options. So for a game designed and made in 2009, it seems like this was a little bit lazy. The real miss here for me though was the addition of the homing move. I don't think this really has a place here. The levels don't feel like they were designed to make use of it. Episode 2 feels like they were much more aware of that, and they did keep it in mind when putting the levels together, but for episode 1, it really doesn't serve any purpose in regards to navigating the levels. Nothing is really added to the overall experience. It was like they just felt they needed to put it in because modern Sonic has that ability now, or they had tied it to ease of use as the development did start as a mobile game. Speaking of episode 2, let's talk a little bit about that game before the Tater Raider. A much better experience overall. The addition of tails and better level design improved the experience drastically. The homing move was still a thing, but it did feel more natural in the levels because they made it actually feel useful, not just an afterthought and a reason to mash down the A button. Special levels ended up kind of being another throwaway thing in episode 2. Again, you're stationary, but this time you move Sonic left to right to collect coins in a half pipe. You have to collect a certain amount of coins to move on and get to the end of the level to get the emerald. Just not super interesting or fun. I didn't get a chance to test out the game's multiplayer options. There is a couch co-op option, and in the past you would have been able to play over Xbox Live with a friend. The 2 younger players might find some fun with the couch co-op option. Single player mode, you do get new moves via the addition of tails. You can fly temporarily, and you get a kind of super spin dash move, both of which are needed to navigate and complete the levels. The flying move in particular I found fun, as I was able to save myself a few times with good reflexes, and the need to use the move was even incorporated into some of the boss fights, making them a little bit more interesting. And the game must know that I love water levels because the second level of the game is a water level. Tails kind of makes having to do these levels a little bit better in episode 2, since you can use the flying mechanic and kind of float through the water a little bit faster. The big miss for me in episode 2 was the airplane levels. Auto scroll levels where you kind of lock to the top of the plane for the entire level. I do like that they tried something different here, but they just weren't fun. Visually they were cool, but something looking nice and something being fun to play are are two completely different things. I read that episode 3 got canned at some point after the release of episode 2, and that's unfortunate because it seemed like they were starting to figure things out with episode 2. I don't know why it's been so hard for me to find a good Sonic the Hedgehog game. I often wonder if the developers just aren't given enough time to playtest what they're making while they're making it, just to make sure it's actually fun to play. I have been told that there are some fun modern Sonic games out there, and I do have more of them in my backlog, so that adventure continues for me. 2 happy potato faces out of 5 for Sonic the Hedgehog 4 episodes 1 and 2. I'm combining the 2 of them and rating them as one game. If you're gonna call your game Sonic the Hedgehog 4, then it should just be seen as one thing, especially if you're playing it in 2024. I do not recommend seeking this one out to play unless you're like a super fan that needs to see and experience this thing for themselves. It's just not worth it. With that, the Backlog Project rolls on. Thanks so much for watching. Be kind to yourselves and others that deserve it. We're on to the next one. Did I have a booger the whole time doing this? Oh my god. Start recording, fool.